My guest today is Captain C.S. Randhawa, an aviation expert, and more importantly, he is a senior Boeing pilot with extensive commercial flying experience. He is also the president of Federation of Indian Pilots, a key voice for Indian airline pilots. Sir, welcome. Now, you are joining me at a time when I and the entire country, they have a lot of questions. To start with, sir, I would like to ask you my first question as a common man. Can an aircraft actually take off with the fuel switch in cutoff mode?
No, the aircraft cannot take off in the fuel in the cutoff mode because the engines would not be running. So the engines have to be running, and for that the fuel supply must be on. And fuel supply is on because the fuel control switches, in case of Boeing, have to be in the run position.
Okay. So now I'm probably the entire findings, the initial report, the interim report, whatever you may call this, is now again bringing two things. So obviously one switch that basically that is indicating, or you can say now hinting, that probably caused the entire flight to go down. How do you take that assessment for now?
No, the report is very clear. Report has not said that the fuel control switches have been cut off. It says they have transitioned. Mark the word transitioned.
Okay.
That means it has not been done by the pilots, and as corroborated and given in the preliminary report that in the CVR, the pilots are asking who's cut off the switches, they say no one.
Okay.
So the prelim report itself is saying, then how can the panelists around the globe in other parts of the world are coming to a conclusion that the pilots have switched off the fuel control switch?
Okay.
Pilots will only move the fuel control switch in case both the engines are flamed out, or there is engine fire, or there is a severe damage on the aircraft engine, or the engine has stalled.
Okay.
In no other case, the pilot will touch the fuel control switch.
So now if I may ask you about flight Air India 171, there was no bird hit, there was no distress signal, there was absolutely nothing that could have suggested anything of that sort that pilot did that. They actually went ahead and turned the switch to a cutoff mode. So that you have also now initially said. My now basic question here is, what are the chances of a fuel switch going to a cutoff mode without pilot actually doing it? Like, has any other pilot ever reported such a case?
Till now, we have never heard of such a case in any of the aircraft, any of the Boeing aircraft, from whether it was 737, a 747, a 777, or a 787. We have not heard ever such a thing happening. Now, the fuel control switches can be they can be electronically controlled, because ultimately the switch position manually control is by the pilot. But electronically, the signals are sent by the electronic media that when the control switch, you have the engine electronic control, that the EEC which supplies the power to the FedEx, which controls the fuel to the engine. Now, presumably it could have happened. There is a power problem in the aircraft, and which has sensed and given a signal to the DFDR that the fuel control switch has been to cut off and then on. The pilots are confirming they did not move the switches.
Yeah.
And the RAT is deployed, because when there is a fuel interruption in the engines, the fuel gets cut off and the engines will be flamed out. Now is the time that the RAT is deployed. Now, if you see the sequence of actions, that before the fuel control switches were moved on and off, the RAT is deployed at 47 seconds from the report. So the fuel control switches have been cut off, and to run, the DFDR is saying that it has picked up around 52 seconds.
Okay.
So these points are quite disturbing in nature, that how can this sequence happen? Now, as a as a pilot, in case the pilots have moved the switches, then the pilots touch those switches only in three circumstances. One is both engine flame out. The second reason is engine fire. The third reason is engine severe damage, or there is an engine stall. Only in these cases, the fuel control switch is touched by the pilots. Now, there has been a Boeing circular which was advisory in nature, which came out in 2018.
Yes.
Because on the 737 there was a problem with the fuel switches, the control mechanism, the locking mechanism.
Yeah.
And this was advisory in nature, so the airlines did not take it as a mandatory check and did not carry out the checks which were required to be done. However, today I have learned that in 2020 a directive was issued where there was a problem with the fuel control system
Switch. Yeah.
in these aircraft, 787. And I'm shocked that no one has done anything about it. 5 years have passed after that, and nothing has been done on the 787 aircraft. The next important point is that though the pilots have not been blamed at all in the preliminary report, the report says the fuel control switches transitioned. That is the word used.
Transitioned, yes.
Okay. And secondly, they have not given anything about the health monitoring of the engines after it lifted off.
Correct.
So it is just not known. From the timing of the DFDR, in 42 seconds past 38 minutes, the aircraft has achieved a speed of 180 knots.
Okay.
Now the pilots have not taken the landing gear up because of all this confusion which must be happening in the aircraft, in the cockpit, because of some malfunction happening.
I would like to just put one question here. Do you think that was an ideal speed for takeoff? So is that the normal speed where takeoff is like?
Yes, the takeoff speed, if it is clearly set for that weight, 153 knots was the V1 decision speed, and 155 knots was the rotation speed.
Okay.
So the aircraft has gone through those speeds. The next action is by the pilots, when they see that positively the aircraft has got airborne, the pilot monitoring says positive climb. That means the aircraft is airborne now. Then the pilot monitoring says gear up, and he moves the lever up. Now the gear has not been taken up. The flaps have been in the takeoff position of 5 degrees, which the report has said. It has also said there is no overweight of the aircraft. It was 5 tons below the max takeoff weight.
Okay.
So everything was perfect. The speed achieved 180 knots was at 42 seconds. The RAT was deployed at 47 seconds and left engine control switch off and on 52 and right one 56. And DFDR stops at 09, and that is 1339 1111. The DFDR stops recording. Now, my point is the memory actions of the captains. In case the pilots have moved the switches, the memory actions the Boeing recommends fuel control switches to cut off and run. This is challenge and response, which the DFDR, the CVR they have not corroborated in the report, prelim report. The pilot flying says left fuel control switch. The pilot monitoring will say affirmative. That means the hand is on the left, so that inadvertently in one engine failure, you don't cut off the live engine. So the pilot monitoring says cut off. None of these things have come out in the CVR. Now, it is not a child's play that the pilots are playing around with the fuel control switches. No one does it. It's not a child's play. You never enter that quadrant. Those switches are spring-loaded. You have to pull the switch and then put it to run. and then it again locks. Now I have to put it off, I have to pull it and put it off. So, in my view, there could have been a malfunction in the electrical system which has generated the signals to the DFDR that the fuel, there is a problem that the fuel control switches have been sensed as cut off. And it has again regenerated it to run, and the relight cycle has started.
Without giving
Now,
any...
my point is very clear. Second memory action by the captain should have been RAM air switch to be switched on manually. Push and hold for 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
There is no talk about the RAT
the
being
report is
deployed by
silent
the...
on that.
So these actions, if done by pilots, then both these actions should have been done.
Okay.
Now the question comes, the RAT has started automatically. As per the report, at 47 seconds, RAT has started. And at 52, the recycling of the fuel control switches happened. It's very, very confusing.
It's not adding up.
Yeah, it's not adding up.
Okay, so I would like to, for our viewers' knowledge, I would like to read that report about the switches that are in question right now. So I have that 2018 observation, and I am quoting this. Operators have reported that some fuel control switches were installed with the locking feature disengaged. We recommend inspection of the installation and engagement of the locking feature to ensure correct operation. How on earth can Boeing... Is it not possible that one of those switches in question, even if it was 5 or 10 switches in 10 Boeing aircrafts, could have been like the culprit here in Air India 171 flight?
First of all, the point is, this circular I said was advisory in nature. So it was not mandatory on the part of any airline to carry out the inspections.
No, but my question
Whereas
is...
the recommendation was very clear. Okay. But it was advisory in nature. Otherwise,
So, however,
it should
my
have been issued
question
as
is,
a directive.
if...
Then it becomes mandatory. So Air India never carried out any checks.
Was that just Air India's responsibility, or is it also...
Even if the control switch lock has malfunctioned, okay, how come both the fuel control switches were put off and on? How?
That's something that I do not think the report actually goes on. And
so that there has to be electronic glitch.
Okay.
There has to be. And on the contrary, the prelim report gives a clean sheet to the Boeing company, to Honeywell, to the GE, the manufacturer of the engine, and Air India. All of them have been given a clean sheet as per page 15 of the report. Without addressing these problems, which I have just mentioned, that these problems that the prelim report should have clearly highlighted what is the health of the engine, what has transpired in the cockpit, what is the CVR, who is saying what. Nothing is clear. Now just merely saying the fuel control switches transitioned from run to off and off to run does not conclude that this is a pilot error or the pilots have done it.
Captain...
And as I have told you, the RAT has, as per their report, RAT has deployed before the engine fuel control switches to off and run. I just can't understand the sequence of action.
So are you suggesting that the pilots probably were not in control and some electronic failure happened, or a technical failure happened, and they could not do anything in time?
Pilots were highly experienced, and by the way, I had done a part of the training of Captain Sabharwal on the Airbus 310.
Okay.
I've been an examiner for a very long time in Air India. And he was highly experienced. The page 11 of the report will tell you more than 15,600 hours of total experience, out of which 8,000 hours on type, which is a lot of experience. He was a very level-headed pilot and could not have done such an action. So I object to all the media
Yes,
reports
lot of
circulating
especially in Western media.
abroad, who are trying to malign the pilots and save the other big giants of the
The,
manufacturers.
the
I
GE
do not
and
succumb to
Boeing.
it. I strongly object to any such acquisition made against the pilot, because then it would have come out clearly
Correct.
in the preliminary report. And then, if the panelists or the world believes that there is a pilot error, I would agree to that.
Yeah.
But as you would understand that any court of law, without evidence, that case falls flat.
So now
You'll
again,
agree with me, Himanshu?
yes, Captain Randhawa, I do.
No case can be corroborated in the court of law without evidence.
Yeah,
What is the evidence?
nothing here.
What is the evidence? There's no evidence against the
Absolutely
pilots.
nothing. These are conjectures.
Yes, speculations again.
So my now one important question here for Boeing and GE, and that if at all a lock switch can be that critical, you cannot dismiss it as trivial and just issue an advisory. Don't you find a similarity
Absolutely.
between the MCAS system in the Boeing that were entire grounded
Correct.
and the entire plane nosedived and pilots could do nothing? Not one, probably two or three planes simply just vanished from
Two
air without
aircraft.
of the MCAS system.
So when the MCAS system failed on the MAX 737
Yeah,
MAX aircraft in the
seven.
Lion Air case and there was an accident, I think all the 737 MAX should have been grounded all around the world.
They were for a brief period, but again they came up with some.
But you had another accident happening of Ethiopian.
Yes, and only after the third
And
one, I think.
subsequently it came out. Now imagine, Himanshu, if this accident would have occurred in the United States of America or Canada or Europe, it would have taken a different shape.
Yeah. So human lives in.
Totally different shape. We are a big economy in the world, and we are also a very big growing nation for aviation. We're almost third and the fourth number. So it is very pertinent to get the confidence of the people who are traveling by air to get the truth out of what
Yes.
has happened. It is extremely tragic.
Who knows such faulty?
Extremely tragic.
Yeah. Who knows such faulty switch? Like no other aircraft is running with that faulty switch, or probably some.
No, Himanshu, I again would reiterate, it is not the faulty locking mechanism of the switch. It is something to do with the electrical signals which have gone from the EEC to the FedEx, and that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the locking mechanism failure. And why would the pilot touch that?
Correct.
Answer my question. When the pilots are taught, I've been an examiner for a very long time in Air India, and Air India training is one of the best. Let me assure you this. Okay. The pilots are trained to the core not to do any actions, and the pilots do not pass if they are not up to the mark.
There's no question. There's no
So the
denying
Air
Captain
India training
Sabharwal.
is very robust. But I'm surprised when there were technical issues and there were circulars issued 2018, another directive was issued in 2020. Nothing, no action has been taken by the airline. That is very, very intriguing. Why should it happen? These could have been fixed 5 years back.
Yes.
And who is responsible for the death of 260 people? Every human being life is very important.
Yes.
And as I said, had these accidents taken place in the Western world, it would have been a different shape.
The roof would have collapsed.
Yes. So I am not happy with the pilot community is not happy with the findings of the prelim report, where the manufacturer, the airline, the engine manufacturer, the Honeywell, everyone has been let off the hook. People are very upset. And I've been getting calls the whole day from pilots. And I myself, I've been very upset how the Western media has raked it up and put it as a pilot error without any evidence. If you have evidence, yes, I will agree to that.
Captain Randhawa, let me assure you that we at Republic will definitely pursue this story because it involves human lives and will not let any point or any fact to be suppressed. And no one can actually get away by blaming or just trying to pass on the buck and blaming or fixing blame on pilots. So I think that's not going to happen, no matter what Western media actually tries and does. But now my last question to you, Captain, would be, how do you think this investigation is moving, and will the final report actually answer people's
Final
queries?
report, Himanshu, final report, they will have to be accountable. Everything will have to be recorded. So everything lies as an evidence. Now, tomorrow, the people of UK, there were 52 nationals from UK, and a part of the team is there in the inquiry. And there were some American nationals. Now, tomorrow, everything is, if it is brought to the courts, right, then nothing can be fooled in the entire when the full investigation report comes, because they will investigate everything about the components of the aircraft, their history, right from the time the aircraft has been manufactured, what all modifications were, or the inspections were desired by the manufacturer of the engine, Honeywell, or by Boeing. Those complied? So there are a lot of questions will be asked. So this inquiry, maximum time limit is 1 year, but I think by 6 or 8 months, they should be able to compile the inquiry and come out with full reasoning as to what has happened. Nothing would be hidden by the investigators, because it is all public. Because tomorrow it can go to the legal way.
Yeah.
And the correct way of doing it is that I feel that there should have been a judicial inquiry. In the earlier crashes, if you see, there was a judicial inquiry in the Mangalore crash.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there was a judicial inquiry. So that accountability can be fixed. And secondly, there should be in any inquiry board, now we've been reiterating for a long time, there have to be SMEs involved in the inquiry, whether it is air safety, whether it is pilots, whether it's engineers, who are experts in the country. They should be also involved in the inquiry procedure and the investigation procedure in the country. And we should be the manufacturers of engines,
Yes.
airframe, the aircraft manufacturers, and they should try to find out as to what has gone wrong. Because a second crash of this nature will be unpardonable.
Yes.
So we have to learn from mistakes. It happened on the 737 MAX. We saw an aircraft or Lion Air going down. Then we had the second one going down. And then we woke up.
I hope this
My
becomes
idea is, why should you wake up
now.
now? It's never too late. Right?
Right.
So wake up and let us move towards, because air travel is the safest mode of travel.
Cap.
The passengers all over the world, they will, if something of this nature happens, it will affect the morale of the passengers traveling by 787. 787s have been flying. I was a senior captain and an examiner on the 777. It is 787. I did the training. I never flew that, but it is no different from 777. Very safe aircraft. Why did it happen? That is the question.
Right. Captain Randhawa will keep asking these questions till the truth comes out, sir. And I hope our thoughts and prayers with the families of the ill-fated flight, people who lost their loved and dear ones. Only truth can give a perfect closure to this. I hope this truth comes out, and in the course of investigation, we'll keep coming at you, sir, as in when we come to know about the next report whenever it comes. Thank you for your precious time
Thank you, Mansu. And I would say the souls of the people who lost their lives will not rest in peace till the time there is a conclusive investigation which comes out with absolute facts. Their souls will not rest.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.